Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be customizing these shaker cups. I thought it would be a fun and interesting thing to try out, so let's dive into it. Now before we get into the painting, I have to remove these logos here because they just won't do. Now to do this, I do have some acetone here, and this is going to be perfect for removing the ink on the logos on these cups. Now when using acetone, you have to make sure that you are in a well ventilated area because this stuff is stinky and the fumes aren't that good for you. Now I know I probably could just paint over the logos, but I didn't like that idea because I would have to alter what I'm painting to make sure it fits over the logos, plus you would still see it from the inside. So I just thought, let's just remove these logos and have a nice clean slate to paint on. Now when deciding on what I was going to paint on these cups, I actually took inspiration from what I'm going to be using them for. One of my favorite energy drinks at the moment is something called G Fuel. Now you've probably heard of this before. It is quite rampant on YouTube. A lot of people know what G Fuel is, and I just have to say that it is pretty good stuff. I'm using some of my favorite flavors as inspiration for the patterns on these cups, and I'm also sort of deciding which ones to paint on what cups using the colors of the cups as well. So as you can see, I've got this blue cup here and I am painting some red and blue and white splashes all over it, and it kind of dripped a little bit, but I fixed that in the end. But yeah, what I'm painting on this cup here today is actually a pattern for a snow cone. I'm going to be painting some really cute snow cones all over this cup with some colourful splashes all around them. To do this was pretty simple. I pretty much just painted some little splashy shapes, paint splattery type sort of style shapes all over the cup, and then after this I drew some triangles, and that's going to be the sort of handle for the snow cone thingy. And after this I'm going to be putting the colourful snow cone, edible part on the top of the snow cone. I really like this cup because it has quite a limited color palette, but it works really well. All of the colors are just blue, red and white, but they all work together really well, and that little hint of gray in there just helps add quite a bit of detail to the cup while keeping it still, simple and good looking. But yeah, I'm using my Posca pens for this, and I was a little bit concerned with the plastic of the cup, and I was worried that the pens might not, layer over the cup, but it actually worked out pretty well because the cup has a little bit of a sort of matte texture to it, so the paints actually worked really well and stuck to it pretty good. I did have a sort of clear primer stuff that I could have used in case it didn't work, and I did actually end up using that in one of my later cups. So after I got all of those details down, I felt like it still needed a little bit more detail. There was quite a bit of color and busyness in this, and I needed something that would sort of define the snow cones just a little bit more. So I went around with my very thin Posca pen and I did some outlines around these guys. I didn't do full-on line art around the whole things, I just pretty much did an outline which helped define them quite a bit, but still kept that cute style that I really like. And yeah, they're pretty cute and I actually really like them. This is a really cool one and I am very happy how this bottle cup thing turned out. So with this next shaker cup, I am actually drawing inspiration from strawberry kiwi, which is a flavor of G Fuel, and I'm using the sort of yellowy green colored cup for this because I felt like it would fit really nicely with the theme with the strawberries and kiwi fruits. The kiwi fruit would sit nicely with that color, and the red from the strawberry would pop out nicely from the green as well because they are complementary colors. I started out doing rough outlines of the fruits and I let that dry quite a bit, and then after this I drew some little white drop shapes all around to sort of, symbolize the refreshingness of this drink. And then after all of that was dry, I went in with some details on the fruits. Now I'm actually using a sort of a light ivory color for the insides of the kiwi fruits, and as well as that a darker green to add the details of all of the lines through the pulp. After this, I grabbed a sort of dark reddish purple colored marker and I went in with the strawberries to add in some shadows for the little divots all around the strawberry. These divots are going to be where the seeds go. Now I'm going in with a black and I'm just adding in those seeds on the kiwi fruit. I really like this because it started to turn out really well, and once I added those seeds on the kiwi fruits, they looked just like kiwi fruits but with a little bit of a cartoony feel, and I really like the look of them. They've got that color block sort of style that I really like, and once I sort of build up all of the layers, it ends up turning out really detailed and nice, and that's what I like. After this, I'm adding just a hint of the skin from the kiwi fruit on the edges of the kiwi fruits, and I'm doing that with a brown Posca pen. I didn't want to draw too thick because the sort of skin on a kiwi fruit is really quite thin, so I was careful not to add too much brown. After this, I'm adding the seeds to the strawberries because that dark purplish color is now dry, and to do that I am adding in dots with yellow all over those sort of shadow areas, and after this I'm going to add a bit of white as well. Now we can't forget about that green sort of leafy part on the top of the strawberries, so I'm just doing this with the same dark green that I used in the kiwi fruit. And yeah, I really like the way that the fruit is turning out at the moment. They are quite bright and detailed and kind of happy, and it also gives it a bit of a summery, refreshing feel, as if maybe the drink in this bottle is going to be really refreshing and fruity and sweet, and that's exactly what it's going to be because it's going to be G Fuel. Now I want to decorate all around these cups, so of course I'm going to have the same fruit on the other side of the cup as well, as you can see, and I'm pretty much doing the exact same method as I did before. I am leaving some areas plain where you can see the sort of ripples on the side of the cup where you sort of get grip on the cup when you shake it, as well as the area where you can see the measurements. I sort of kept those plain because I just felt like it would be easiest that way. But yeah, this cup turned out really cute and I love the results and how it sort of ended up. I think it was really nice. So this next cup I am painting on a bright pink cup, and I wanted to keep to the theme just like the other ones, and it took a little bit of like ideas for me to decide which one I wanted to do because I did have quite a few options. There was the cotton candy flavor, there's like another strawberry shortcake flavor, there's watermelon, there's a lot of pink G Fuels, and I really couldn't decide which one I wanted to do. Now I ended up deciding on my absolute number one favorite G Fuel flavor, and that is rainbow sherbet. Now it's not exclusively a pink color, but it does have pink in the aesthetic as well, and I thought it would fit really nicely. Now I actually don't have any of that flavor left for myself, which is really sad because I love that one so much. But the flavor is really nice. It's like a sort of like a rainbow sherbet ice cream flavor, and it just tastes like candy. And you can actually mix that one with milk too if you like, and it gives it a really nice sort of like a ice cream flavor that I really love. But yeah, I thought it would be fitting to paint rainbow ice cream cones all over this cup. I thought it would be a really cute idea. It would be adorable, it would be colorful, and it would be so me. So yeah, I basically drew the ice cream cone shapes with a sort of light orangey beige color, and then after that dried, I sort of went over it with a light brown color, and with that pen I sort of just went around the outside and drew lots of crisscrosses to act as a sort of like a waffle ice cream cone kind of shape. After this I drew in some spoons as well because I wanted to have some spoons holding ice cream, and after this I went in with a bunch of colors, mainly greenish, pinkish and orangish colors because those are the colors on the sort of the packet of G Fuel, and I just drew some swirly dotty rainbow shapes all over these, and yeah, drew lots of ice cream, and I kind of wanted to make it look really messy too, as if the ice cream's melting and it's splashing everywhere, and yeah, it just looks really happy and cute, and I think I achieved that pretty well. Of course, just like all the others, I wanted to add that same aesthetic around the outside and the other sides of the cup, so I did the same thing as well. As well as the line art, I wanted to do that too because I felt like it was very, very busy, just like the snow cone one. So I went in and I did some sort of line art on that as well. But with this one, I actually added a little bit more line art. It wasn't just around the outside. I sort of drew like fluffy shapes around the ice cream, and I think I defined it pretty well and made it look good. But yeah, this cup has to be one of my favorites, mainly because I guess it was my favorite G Fuel flavor as well, so I'm a little bit biased in that. But overall, I really like the colors and the fun of this one. So for this next one, it is a little bit different to the others, a little bit of a different aesthetic that I was going because I wanted to make one shaker cup for my boyfriend Jesse, and I picked one of his favorite flavors, which is the lingonberry one. Now, if you know anything about G Fuel, which you're on YouTube, so you probably have seen it once or twice, lingonberry is the flavor owned by PewDiePie. So I wanted to see if I could put PewDiePie's swirly pattern on this cup and try and make it look good. The method I did for this was slightly different because I actually wanted to use some acrylic paint, not just my Posca pens, and for that I did have to add a little bit of a primer on there, but I had this all-purpose sealer which was perfect for putting on weird surfaces like plastic. So I put that all-purpose sealer down and then I waited for that to dry, and then after that I went in with my acrylic paints and it worked pretty well. I'm using the color Naphthol Red Crimson and I'm putting a few layers over that just to get a nice basis for what I'm going to be putting over the top. Now I'm just going in with my Posca pens and I'm drawing with a lighter red color, some swirly shapes all over this thing. Now PewDiePie's, original swirly shape is just red with sort of swirly lines over it, but I wanted to add a little bit more detail and just make it a little bit more unique because I didn't want to just outright copy that pattern. I wanted to add a little bit of something in there as well. So I did add a bit of variance in this. I had the light red swirlies on there as well as a little bit of purple later. And I like to think of this pattern as PewDiePie but with a little bit of Jesse mixed in. Jesse is my boyfriend, by the way, the person that I'm making this cup for. So here's that purple color and I really like it because I kept it pretty sort of dark because I had this nice red color and then I had this lighter red over the top which acted as a highlight, and I had this purple in here which was my darkest purple, and that sort of acted a bit of a shadow color as well, just as a little bit of a pop of a different color. And I think it fits really well because purple is sort of close to red on the color spectrum. It does have red mixed into it. So that's color theory for you. So now that we've got those colors down, I waited for them to dry, and then after this I'm going over the top with the sort of black swirly pattern. I'm sort of just outlining the colors that I already put on here, and I tried to make it look cool and natural as if I drew the swirly lines and then colored them in, if that makes sense. I tried to make these lines look as fluid as I could, but with the paint as it is, there is some little bumps and ridges where the sort of brush strokes were. So it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, but overall, once I got all of them down, it did look pretty cool. After I did this, I did a few extra thick black swirly lines just to make sure that each area was filled nicely. And then after this, it was finally time to peel back that masking tape to show the areas that I'd masked off. And I have to say I really like this one because it has that sort of block color all over it with the patterns, but it has these parts that are sort of masked out and you can see inside the cup. And I actually really like how I kept those because you kind of want to be able to see the level of your drink when you're drinking it. I hate cups that you can't see into, as well as seeing inside for measuring the amount of liquid that you need. But yeah, I really like this one and I hope my boyfriend likes it too. Now after I painted these, I wanted to make sure that the paint was protected and that wouldn't rub off in your hands or while you're drinking or, from water when you're washing it or something like that. So I put quite a few coats of a polyurethane varnish. Now this varnish is quite strong and protective and heat resistant, and this will actually help protect these so that the paint doesn't rub off or smear or anything like that while you're using the cups. This is quite an important step, so if you're going to do this yourself, please protect your artwork from damage. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Here's the final results for all of these cups, and I have to say I love them all so much. Each one is different, but I love them all equally, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below which cup is your favorite and what's your favorite beverage as well. My favorites are tea, G Fuel, and apple cider. Anyways, I hope you all have a lovely day. Stay safe, and of course I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.